I have to fix my camera a little bit. I'll make you co-host. Hi, Diane. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. Good. I'm doing fine. How are you doing this evening?
Good.
Oh, that's good.
I'm eating my dinner, so I can't turn my camera on. Sorry.
Oh, what's for dinner?
Tofu with lots of vegetables and rice.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hi, Janice. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great, great.
Are you eating your dinner too? Because Diane's eating hers.
I'm actually getting ready to order something, so
Oh, something good?
I'm not sure yet. Just getting ready to look at my
Okay.
options here.
See what the options are. Yep.
I think my audio is on. I just joined
Hi, Gloria.
10 minutes ago. I don't know if you can see me.
Oh, are you mean, you just joined to get set up just now?
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Not to
Welcome.
get set up, but to the class.
Oh, to the class. Yeah. We
Okay.
can't see you. You'll have to turn on your video to your lower left-hand corner.
Oh, I don't know if I want you to see me. Actually. I was going, because I didn't know if it was going to be a real Zoom or if it was just going to be, because I do some Zoom meetings that are just audio with the speaker.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's nice to see people
Yeah.
if you want to. No pressure.
Okay.
Well,
I'm cooking, so that's why.
that's okay. Diane's eating her dinner, and Janice is about to order something. So
Okay.
we're having a dinner discussion.
And watering the trees and everything. Yeah.
Hi, good to see you. Yeah, we're getting caught up on what everyone's doing.
So,
All right. We'll let Elaine come on here, and then we can get started. Does anyone play music or can read music right now?
a long time ago, I was in choir.
Oh, were you? Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I used to play the viola as a child, but I haven't done anything in decades.
Yeah. How about you, Elaine?
Same thing. It's been years. I used to play several instruments, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. If you don't practice, it's hard. That's for sure. What kind of instruments did you play?
Flute, violin, oboe.
Oh, oboe. That's a tough one. That's not an easy one to deal with. Anyone
Violin
else?
was worse.
Oh, yeah. That's true. To make it sound right. My sister played violin, and it was rough.
I think it's
very
rough
good
on
at-
the family.
It
We had
is.
to learn to read music in school.
Did you?
all right.
That's kind of nice that they well, I don't know if it's nice that they made you do it, but I guess it's a good skill to know. That's funny. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started here tonight? Want to welcome everyone to Get Set Up. We're seniors teaching seniors about technology. We also have social hours and social programs that you can enjoy. Tonight's class, we're going to just talk about how to read music for the beginner or just the curious. We're going to just have, this really for the beginner or someone who just wants to kind of refresh your memory we're going to learn a little bit about the history too behind this. My name is Donna. I worked in the IT industry for over 30 years. I enjoy helping people get over their fears of technology. And I have a music degree. I did do that way back then too. So this session is being recorded. If you'd like to get a copy of the recording, you can do so by emailing help@getsetup.io. And we're not paid to promote any products or anything I'm going to mention tonight. No, I don't know if there really is anything. And we do have John today in our chat room, so you can say hi to him if you'd like to. If you have any questions or issues that come up during the class, feel free to ask him questions. We're going to talk about a little brief history of Western music notation, just a little bit to see how did we end up where we are now with music, the way it looks on the page, and some of the basics of music notation and how pitch and rhythm are notated. And I just did ask, some of you can read and some probably can't. That's okay. This class is for both. So we look at this type of page, you know, you look at this and how do you read this? How does the musician read this, this sheet of music? This is for the piano. This is what they call it, the grand staff. We're going to get into the details in a little bit, but just to, you know, you look at something like this, hopefully by the end of this hour, this will be a little less intimidating when you look at it. Because right now it's probably like, woo, tough to play. So let's talk about the brief history of music notation. The oldest melody was discovered on these clay tablets. It was a Hurrian hymn. At that point of time, they would be played on an instrument called a lyre. That's what's over here on the right side. Yeah. And this would be strings. It has no more, of course, it's thousands of years old. It has no strings left, but it would have had strings over here. And they'd play it like a little harp. This tablet was found in Syria. And the archaeologists, they figured out what this would actually sound like. So I'm going to play for you so you can hear what this would have sounded like at that time. Just get this. Oh, it's on mute, sorry. So that's nice because they also show you a little bit of what that lyre would have looked like at that time. It's kind of interesting they could figure out what that could have been. So when we look at music notation, this is some examples of different parts of the world, what the music would look like written down. Korean, this is in Korea. Indian music, early 20th century, which is the way the notation is done. Russia, 1884, very similar to the what in Europe, what we also had the what they called Gregorian chants and the early notation. you would have the words and just a suggestion of which direction the note was going. So you had to learn the song by rote. Someone had to teach you this song before you could understand the music, because it just told you to go up a little or go down a little bit. That's all you had to go by. And that's how the early notation would look. And this is what a good one too. In Chinese notation, 1425. Japanese in 738 AD. So we've had music for thousands of years. So there's the earliest instrument was this little mouth flute that was made out of bone. I think it was about 2,000 something years ago. So we've been making music as humans for a very long time. It's nothing new. The notation, though, was very interesting. Most songs and music were just taught by rote. You just learned the music and you passed it down, from generation to generation. In the early 14th century, we had the Gregorian chants that we had in the churches, and these were just usually one line of notes sung, sometimes two different lines. And again, you could see the words and you would see some notation here. Now the difference here, there are some lines. They had 4 lines instead of 5. And I'm going to show you a little video about a guy named Guido who helped start who began what is now our modern day notation.
Celebrate a musical revolution brought about by an unassuming 11th century monk by the name of Guido. This is the Museo della Musica in Talla, Italy, which houses displays on the history of music as far back as the musical notation system developed by Guido around 1,000 years ago. Until the 9th century, music was transmitted almost exclusively through an oral tradition. Manuscripts like this one contain shorthand reminders placed over the words to show the general contour of the melody. But unless the singer already knew the chant, they weren't much help. The simple brilliance of Guido's system was to add lines and a clef, which identified a note on that line as F. You'll notice from this manuscript that there were only 4 lines instead of the 5 we have in modern notation, and rhythmic durations were still undeveloped, but the ability to specify pitch was a quantum leap for music. Another important contribution made by Guido was to name the first 6 tones of the major mode so that he could easily make reference to each pitch while teaching the chant repertory to his students. He took the names from the first syllable of each line in this hymn, because each line outlines the next step in the scale: ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. The Guidonian hand bears Guido's name, and it is a great application of his ideas, but he probably didn't actually create it. At least it's not mentioned in his books. The concept behind the hand was that once a singer memorized the positions of the syllables, a teacher could teach a whole group of monks a chant melody by pointing to the pitches on his hand. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, and la are still used as solemnization symbols in music schools today. So, if you're wondering who to thank for the solfege syllables you use in musicianship, Guido's your man. Solfege, combined with the ability to write down and recreate chant melodies, was a musical revolution, or what Howard Goodall calls a big bang.
And I have a short video about that Guidorian hand. And I think you'll find this interesting, Gloria. Could you imagine learning these songs this way?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Around the 10th century, Western music looked like this. If you want to learn more about why medieval music looked this way, check out this video on how the music clefs got their shapes.
It's very pretty, though,
Now,
the artwork on
if
it.
this was written in modern notation, it would
Wow.
look something like this. These were the only notes being used in conventional Western music at the time. 20 notes plus 2 accidentals, and each note had its own name. I'm not talking like today's music where each note is one of the 7 letters of the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. No, each one of these notes had a particular name, which included the note name, but also its positions in the hexachord system.
Oh my gosh.
Is that crazy?
For example, this D below middle C is called D so re, and this G above middle C is called G so re ut. All of the notes followed this convention, beginning with the note name and then its positions in the hexachords. With this system, each note has a unique name. This is where the Guidonian hand comes in. If you search the internet for Guidonian hand, odds are you'll find something like this, a scan from a music manuscript dating back to the 10th or 11th century. But it's easier to show you how the Guidonian hand worked on an actual 3-dimensional hand. Beginning on the thumb of the left hand, you would start with the lowest note, gamma ut, then going down the joints of the thumb, A re and B mi. The rest of the notes followed a spiral pattern around the hand, going up the pinky, across the fingers, and then circling back around. Since most of the music at the time was taught by rote, this was a simple tool musicians could learn to help them remember the notes and to help them sight sing music. I ended up making a couple more hands for this project, if you want to see how that...
Isn't that interesting?
Well, I'm laughing because I write on my hand.
Do you? See?
And I
Now you know how to do it. The
just
pattern
brings a
around
whole
your...
new level of thinking to that.
There you could do with all your scales right there in your hand.
Right there. My cheat sheet.
That's funny. Isn't that something?
It is amazing.
And now another quick short one about the why do we sing do re mi, which of course is thanks to Guido.
Yeah.
Why do we sing do re mi? Do re mi, also known as solfege, is a system of associating each note of the Western music scale with a particular syllable. This was done to aid the learning of music notation and improve sight singing skills. Like many components of Western civilization, solfege is a product of the medieval period. A Benedictine monk by the name of Guido was working in the Italian city of Arezzo as a teacher at the cathedral. While there, he developed many techniques to teach his singers various chants and songs. Guido created a mnemonic for remembering the musical scale. Using the first syllable of each line of the hymn, Ut quiant laxus, Guido created solfege. At the age of 34, in the year 1025 or 26, Guido published a treatise on music entitled Micrologus. His Ut re mi system of psalmization then spread across Europe. In 1640, Giovanni Battista Doni, a Florentine musicologist, proposed that ut be replaced with do, arguing that it is easier to sing. His contemporaries agreed and the change was adopted. The seventh note, the leading tone of the scale, was later added and named C, after Sancta Johannes, the final line in Guido's hymn. The last change to solfege was made in Norwich, England in 1811. Sarah Ann Glover, a music educator, wanted each syllable of the scale to start with a different letter. C was then changed to T. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
All right. Remember that. All right. So that's what happened with the beginning of the notation. Notation developed further as we got into the Renaissance and the Baroque periods. You know, Baroque, that's when we had Bach, Bach, Handel, Vivaldi. As music instruments were starting to get built, they're very primitive instruments during these times, but definitely when we hit the classical period, when we start seeing people like Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, a lot of instruments got created, and orchestra was very, very big in the classical period. And when you have 100 people trying to play together, you have to tell them how long to hold the note. So the notation had to develop at this point, and that's really when it developed, when all these instruments started playing together. There was no more learning from rote. You just looked at what was on the page and played it. And that was really what brought us to where we are today, to music notation. So that's where we end up with this piece of music that we see here. So let's talk about reading music. I'm going to show you a video so you can get a little feel for it, and then we're going to dive right into it.
When we watch a film or a play, we know that the actors probably learned their lines from a script, which essentially tells them what to say and when to say it. A piece of written music operates on exactly the same principle. In a very basic sense, it tells a performer what to play and when to play it. Aesthetically speaking, there's a world of difference between, say, Beethoven and Justin Bieber, but both artists have used the same building blocks to create their music, notes. And although the end result can sound quite complicated, the logic behind musical notes is actually pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the foundational elements to music notation and how they interact to create a work of art. Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it. Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names? Well, for example, if you played an F and then played another F higher or lower on the piano, you'd notice that they sound pretty similar compared to, say, a B. Going back to the staff, every line and every space between 2 lines represents a separate pitch. If we put a note in one of these lines or in one of these spaces, we're telling a performer to play that pitch. The higher up on the staff a note is placed, the higher the pitch. But there are obviously many, many more pitches than the 9 that these lines and spaces give us. A grand piano, for example, can play 88 separate notes. So how do we condense 88 notes onto a single staff? We use something called a clef. A clef is a weird-looking figure placed at the very beginning of the staff, and it acts like a reference point telling you that a particular line or space corresponds to a specific note on your instrument. If we want to play notes that aren't on the staff, we kind of cheat and draw extra little lines called ledger lines and place the notes on them. If we have to draw so many ledger lines that it gets confusing, then we need to change to a different clef. As for telling a performer when to play the notes, 2 main elements control this: the beat and the rhythm. The beat of a piece of music is, by itself, kind of boring. It sounds like this. Notice that it doesn't change, it just plods along quite happily. It can go slow, or fast, or whatever you like really. The point is that just like the second hand on a clock divides 1 minute into 60 seconds, with each second just as long as every other second, the beat divides a piece of music into little fragments of time that are all the same length. Beats. With a steady beat as a foundation, we can start adding rhythm to our pitches, and that's when music really starts to happen. This is a quarter note. It's the most basic unit of rhythm, and it's worth 1 beat. This is a half note, and it's worth 2 beats. This whole note here is worth 4 beats, and these little guys are 1/8 notes, worth half a beat each. Great, you say. What does that mean? You might have noticed that across the length of a staff, there are little lines dividing it into small sections. These are bar lines, and we refer to each section as a bar. At the beginning of a piece of music, just after the clef, is something called the time signature, which tells the performer how many beats are in each bar. This says there are 2 beats in each bar, this says there are 3, this one 4, and so on. The bottom number tells us what kind of note is to be used as the basic unit for the beat. 1 corresponds to a whole note, 2 to a half note, 4 to a quarter note, an eighth to an eighth note, and so on. So this time signature here tells us that there are 4 quarter notes in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But like I said before, if we just stick to the beat, it gets kind of boring, so we'll replace some quarter notes with different rhythms. Notice that even though the number of notes in each bar has changed, the total number of beats in each bar hasn't. So, what does our musical creation sound like? Sounds okay, but maybe a bit thin, right? Let's add another instrument with its own pitch and rhythm. Now it's sounding like music. Sure, it takes some practice to get used to reading it quickly and playing what we see on our instrument, but with a bit of time and patience, you could be the next Beethoven. Or Justin Bieber.
I like the part when they ask him a question, he just shrugs his shoulders. All right. So reading music, this is what we call the grand staff. It has the this clef here, as you saw this in the video, this is the G clef, and it's called that because this coil right here circles around the note G. So that tells you when you read that clef where G is. It's also called the treble clef. If you play violin, flute, if you're an alto, a soprano, you're you'll be in this clef. Below here is we call this the bass clef or the F clef. In between those 2 dots is for the note F. That's how it gets its name. Instruments that play in the F clef would be stand-up bass, cello, trombone, tuba. For male singers, the baritones, the tenors will be on that bass clef. And if you're a pianist, you play both. The greatest brain game ever invented, I tell you, is playing the piano. Because you'll notice the notes here. The first line is E on the treble clef. The first line on the bass clef, becomes G. Your left hand will play this bass clef when you're playing piano, and your right hand plays the treble. So you are literally doing 2 different things at the same time, and your brain has to translate 2 different things at the same time. So I always call it the greatest brain game ever invented. Has anyone ever played piano? Yeah, Elaine? It's, go ahead, you can talk if you want.
Let's just say I tried. I was never successful.
It's tough.
I hated practicing. That was part of it. I enjoyed the other instruments more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's because you have to do 2 things at one time. Now, the piano itself is not difficult to play because all the keys are just lined right up for you. Unlike oboe or there's instruments where just getting the sound out is difficult, right? Just getting the sound right. I used to play French horn. Yeah, you never know what's going to come out of that thing when you blow into it. So yeah, there's instruments where just making the sound is difficult.
I was going to say, I used to play full concertos for my aunt.
Yeah.
And her ladies club that would come over for tea.
Yeah.
I was probably 5 years old, 5 or 6, couldn't
Oh
reach
my
the
God.
pedals. And I would just be banging on her baby grand, and she was so gracious, and all the ladies would applaud. I have no idea what it sounded like. It was
Who knows, right?
horrific.
It probably was horrific, right? Yeah. So the piano, the thing about the piano, it's like you're juggling. I mean, it's just so much going on. When you practice piano, you have to practice the part on the bass clef, and then you have to practice the part on the treble, and then you got to kind of get it to the point where you can play both at the same time. So that part can be hard, getting that. organized. Other instruments are much, easier in that respect because you are usually just playing one note at a time, unless you're playing like violin, the string instruments, you're usually playing more than one note at a time. But the like the wind instruments and stuff, it's just one note. So when we talk about this grand staff, I've got a piano on the side here. Middle C. When you walk up to a piano, you look for the white key that's right next to the two black keys. That's middle. That's a C on a piano. And to show you, let me go here. Got a little right here, C. And you have the two black keys. It's always there. And right here's C, right here's C. So when you go up to a piano, aim for the middle area, and there's your middle C. That's where you're going. So when you have that middle C, think of this line in the middle of the staff, the two staffs. You're right here. This is C, right? You'll have C, D, and then E. Every good boy does fine. The lines. Every good boy deserves fudge. That's another one. I guess that's a new one. The spaces are face. They spell face. That's the way any way to remember it is good. Again, the C's in the middle here. As you go down, before C is B. So you're coming down this space, that one space above the line is B, and then you go to A. So the lines on the bass are good boys do find always, or good boys deserve fudge always, whatever works for remembering it. And then the spaces are all cows eat grass. So these are ways to remember. This is how musicians, when you're first learning your instrument, this is how you learn how to read music, so that you can hopefully quickly identify what you see on the page. So let that soak in for a second. Anyone has any questions about that when you see it like this? All right. So let's do a little game. We're going to play a game now that we're only going to work on the treble clef right now. So we'll deal with the every good. It says body. I think this is a misprint. Usually it's boy. Every good boy does fine. And then face for the spaces. So let's see how we do with this. So this game, we're going to identify the notes on the staff. Okay, so you're going to start reading music right away. So let's go. And I apologize for this music because it's going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the night.
Main challenge.
Okay, quick. Face. You might
Face if the note
might want to write it down.
Think every good burger deserves fries for notes on a line.
Well, that's another one. Every good burger deserves fries.
Listen to the music. Figure out the note name and see if you can say the note name together at the same time. Ready?
That's going to get right in your ear. It's like, anyone know what that note is?
F.
All right. Anyone?
D.
Yeah.
D.
A.
Yep.
A.
Very good.
F.
Yep. You're right. Sorry, I couldn't click the thing here.
G.
Mm-hmm.
G.
It's catchy, isn't it? Anyone?
B.
Yep.
B.
Good.
E.
C.
C. Yep.
C.
E.
Yep.
E.
Good again.
Had it.
All right. You guys are already reading music. Look at that. All right. Here's another one. Now, this one is a little different. It's kind of cute, though, because you spell words. So you're going to see a lot of notes, not a lot of notes, but a few notes at a time. And that it's a good challenge.
To play the game, see if you can figure out what word is spelled with the music notes. If you can figure it out before the bell rings, give yourself a point.
Anyone needs to write these down, I'll pause it.
For Lions think every good burger deserves fries, first space, just spell face. F-A-C-E. Ready?
G. Egg.
All right.
Dad.
Yep. It's a little trickier when they do it this way. Any guesses?
B-E.
Who's that?
B-E-E. B.
B-E.
No, that's right.
What?
D.
D.
D. D. That's D. Yeah, this is B. That's D. So it's bed. That's a tricky one, huh?
Bad.
Bad, yes.
Bad.
Mhm. Okay, don't panic because it's 4 of them.
Oh, this is space.
Space, yes. All the spaces.
Yeah.
What's C, A, and then
Cab.
B.
Cab, right, cab. All right, very good. Look at that. Already reading music. Good job. Good job.
That was fun.
It really is a brain game, isn't it? Trying to, read them like that. But this is what musicians do every day. They're playing their instrument and they're looking, and they have to, have to translate this. They have to get it. Once you practice over and over, you'll look at it and you know instantly what the note is. But it takes a while. It does take a while. All right. So that's reading. When you know now the two different clefs here. Now let's talk about rhythm. So I'm going to play a video here for you to learn about how the rhythm comes together. And this guy is from England, I think. They call the quarter note and the half note, they call them crotchets or something. I don't know. He's got some weird terminology.
Music is divided into bars by bar lines. The time signature, those two numbers at the beginning of the piece, tell us how many beats or counts will be between one bar line and the next. We divide things up like this because it makes the music way easier to read. No bar lines equals mega confusion. So here's a short piece without any bar lines. Let's see if we can fill them in. Before we do anything else, let's figure out how many counts each of these notes have. In the last video, we learned that all crotchets have one count, all minims have 2 counts, and all semibreves have 4 counts, like this. With the counting down, let's look at the time signature at the beginning of the tune. This particular time signature is called 4/4. For now, let's forget about the bottom number and focus on the more important top number. This tells us how many beats will be between one bar line and the next. In this case, the top number is 4, so every bar will be exactly 4 beats long. All we need to do now is add up the counts until we get 4, and then draw a nice vertical bar line. Easy. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. And finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. Now, because it's the end of the tune, we need to add a special type of bar line to show that we're done. It looks like this, and we call it a double bar line. There you have it. We've used the time signature to draw in some bar lines and make some bars. Let's clap it, shall we? Always a good idea to clap these kind of things. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome, let's try another example. Just like before, let's give the crotchets 1 count and the minims 2 counts. Now check out that time signature. This time the top number isn't 4, it's 3. This particular time signature is called 3/4. We're in 3/4 time, so each bar now needs to have exactly 3 beats. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, bar line. And 1, 2, 3, double bar line. Let's clap. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Man, drawing all these bar lines is fun. Let's try one more. Again, let's put in the counting. Crotchets get 1 count, minims get 2 counts. You know the drill. This time we're looking at a 2/4 time signature. 2 is on the top, so every bar needs to be exactly 2 beats long. 1, 2, bar line. 1, 2, bar line. 1, 2, bar line. And 1, 2, double bar line. Clapping? But of course. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we are done. Music quiz. Here's a tune with all the bar lines marked in. But bar 3 is missing notes. Check out the time signature and let me know below in comments.
So what could you put here in this example?
Oh,
I thought it was just an extension of the last note.
Well, yeah, he's got this empty. So, like, for instance, you could put another whole note. You could have a whole note here and a whole note here, right? You could put 4 of the crotchets, he calls them, the quarter notes. You could have 4 of them here, right?
2.
You could do this also, the 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You could have that there. What combination is missing that we don't see here?
2 circles.
Right, yeah, the 2 half notes. So you could have 2 of them here. They would each be for 2 beats. So very good. So that's how we know how. First, we have to look at the,
What sort of note or notes you think could go in that empty?
Gotta pause them. So when you're looking at the, let me get back into my slide. So when you're looking at the rhythm, right, there's notes and then there's rests. Okay, you have whole rest, a whole rest here, whole note. Same thing, the rests are the same. If you have 4/4 time, you're going to have one of these would be held for 4 beats, and the same thing with the rest. The rest are silence. So you're either playing, you're either making the sound, or you're waiting. You're taking a breath. You've got a moment where there's no sound. So you will see that in music. Same thing here. You have the whole note, you have the half notes, right? Half notes, the half rest. Quarter notes right here, quarter rest. And then on down, you've got 8th, 16th, 32nd, and 64s. You don't see those too much in music. You have to be really good. Those are very fast. Most people only get to the 16th notes, maybe an occasional 32nd, more high level music. But that's how the rhythm is determined. And of course, these notes, whichever line or space they're on, that tells the musician what note they're going to play. So they know what the note is and how long they're going to play that note for by looking at the time signature. This is an example here. We have 4/4 time. So in 4/4 time, the whole note's going to last 4 beats. So you're going to play that note once, and you're going to let it sound go for 4 beats. The second example, you have your half note. Again, this is 4 beats to a measure. So these will be counted. You'll play the note 1, and then 2, then 3, 4. So you're going to hold each note for 2 beats. And then the quarter notes, each of these, since it's 4/4 time, the quarter notes equal 1 beat. They'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4. And you have the 8th notes. This is what they look like. So in this example, again, you have 4 beats to the measure, but you would be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and when you're playing. And if it's 16th notes, these are not fun. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So that's how you would count them. So a beat has a duration of time. There's kind of when you're thinking of a beat, you've got that little fraction of a second right before you do the note, and then you have the note, and then you have a little bit of time after. So that's how you play these type of notes. You're putting them all in that little space of time. And triplets, think of the waltz when you do triplets. They say 1 triplet. I would count them 1 and a. That's how I would count it. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So you keep that in that beat. So that's rhythm, how you would determine how to play the notes, how long you're going to hold the note for. And of course, the pitch, what space it's on, what line it's on is going to tell you what note on your instrument to play. So now that we've done all this, does this look a little easier when you're looking at this now? Yeah, a little bit maybe, huh? You see, that you are on the treble clef, right? The G clef. You know what this time signature means. How many beats to the measure? 3, right? You got a 3 here. So you've got 3 beats to the measure. Anyone who can read music a little bit, you know what song this is?
No,
Gloria?
I have no idea.
No?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's coming down on, they call it a leading tone right here. You're coming into, so this would be, you'd be counting this 1, 2, and then this would be 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Da 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 da. Right? That's what it is. National anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know how I know that? Solfege. Remember Guido? Solfeggio, that's what that is. It's being able to kind of figure out the intervals of, when you're looking at the music. But yeah, that is the national anthem. Real quick, you might have seen this 1 and 2. What does this mean when you're looking at something like this? When you're playing the music and you see this little end, the bar, the end bar with the dots, that tells you to go back to the other one in the front.
Exactly.
So when you would do this, you would go through here. You see the 2 dots, that means go back to the other 2 dots, do it again, and then when you get here, then you skip over to here, and then you continue. That's how you would read it. It's just a way to not have to keep repeating the same thing that you're going to be playing, have it on the page twice. That's all it is.
Save space.
Yeah, to save space, try to keep everything. They do, when they print out music, they do kind of try to keep things on the same page as much as they can, and they think about the instrument and how quick that person could do a page turn. So they do think of that when they're putting things on the page.
Sure.
Yeah, because if you have an instrument, we have to use 2 hands. There's going to be a moment you're going to have to real quick make that page turn. That can be tricky sometimes.
Oh yeah, singing.
I've had, yeah, and anyone who has played music, some of those page turns, either the music ends up on the ground. You have little disasters like that. You completely mess up, and it's a disaster. So, and you practice page turns if you do do them. If you're not going to memorize the music, you have to practice that to make sure that you get that right, because it's embarrassing. So that should look a little bit clearer now that you see this. And real quick, not going to get too much into key signatures, but you will notice music. You've probably seen this before, where you see these. These are called sharps, and these are called flats. And what these tell a musician is what key the song is in. If it was always the key of C with no sharps and flats, the music would be a boring. So we have different keys, and all it tells you, like for instance, if you're in G major, it just tells you the the F. The F is sharp. You have to play that sharp. And maybe we'll be doing other music classes where we go into why that is, but just a real quick one to show you what that sounds like. We're talking about the C. The C scale has no sharps. This is what it sounds like. If we were to do G, see, I had to sharp the F, because if I didn't, here's what it would sound like. That's a clunker. Do you hear that? Yeah, that doesn't work. You have to have that sharp. So that's all that is. It just tells you when you're playing the key, when are you going to use, like on piano, the sharps and flats are all the black keys. That's all that tells you, is what notes are going to be flat or sharp. And again, we just showed you that on the piano is a great demonstration for music theory, because it just lays it all out there. It's hard to do that on other instruments visually to see it. So you can see all the whole notes here are on the white keys, and you've got your sharps and your flats. on the black keys. All right. So when you're looking at like this Amazing Grace, you can see this should, when you're looking at this, hopefully it's you can feel a little more comfortable now looking at the music. Of course, if you're playing any instrument, you're going to have to practice these things. But this is just a little to get your feet wet on reading music. For fun, let's take a look at what a cellist would look at. Cellist would be on a bass clef, the lower one. This is Bohemian Rhapsody on cello. Drummers, drum sets don't, a lot of the drum instruments, they don't really have a pitch. But this tells them to play, these are the hi-hats, the cymbals, the little X's, and then these would be different toms, the different drums on the drum set, so they would know which one to hit when. This is a classical guitar music, what it looks like. Classical guitar, they frequently have these positions where they tell you what position up the neck you have to go. And they will give you some fingerings, so you get that right. And sometimes they have these tabs, and these tabs represent the strings of the guitar, the actual strings, and they tell you what finger to put where. It depends on how the tablature is done, but that's an example. If you're a conductor with a symphony, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at everyone's part.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Talk about give me a headache. You've got the flute, oboe, clarinet, trumpet, cornet, trombone, symphony, violin, violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello. They got it all.
Wow.
When you watch a symphony and they're swinging their arms, this is what they're looking at in front of them on the stand. And they know exactly, I'll tell you, they know when your part is supposed to come in. They know where it all is. But yeah, that's what a conductor looks at. And these are the different clefs. We looked at the treble and the bass, but there are tenor and alto clefs. I used to play cello, so the cellos will use these other clefs. And it's to prevent the having notes that have a lot of lines underneath them because they're very hard to read. It just moves. This tells you where C is. These little, where the curly is, where the curls meet, just tells you where middle C is. And it just moves the lines. So when you're reading them, it's easier with the instrument. So that is the end of our class. I hope that was, did it work for you? Do you feel like you now can look at a piece of music and make a little sense?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Where I kind of maybe missed something is, I guess, and this is what our old choir director always did. Okay, we're starting in the key of, and he'd go on his piano, dun 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 dun. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
give you the key.
So we knew where it was starting,
Mm-hmm.
and we did high church,
Mm-hmm.
like in England, and
Yeah.
but it would make it easier for us to kick off reading, and
Right.
It really did. I mean, and
Once you know that first note, and then once you learn your intervals, and that means like how far you have to go, what it sounds like in your head. Just like when we looked at the national anthem, once you kind of know what the spacing is between the, like how far it is from a C to an F, that type of thing. Once you can hear it, then you can just look at the music and you kind of know what it is.
Right.
And just like Guido, that's solfege, I had a whole class in college, solfeggio. That's exactly what I had. And that's all it was how to take music and be able to just sing it just by looking at where the notes were. I did not like that class. So I thank you for coming tonight. Anybody have any other comments or questions or anything you'd like to bring up?
No. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I really did.
Yeah, because just to get your feet wet a little bit on reading music. If you're thinking of playing piano or picking up an instrument, just enough to get you started on, so you understand kind of how this stuff works. I have other classes, music appreciation, all about the orchestra. I use the orchestra to explain music history, how it progresses through time. I have another class on the history of the opera. Music fun hour, that's tomorrow. We just have a good time. We have put on some music and, sing to it or whatever. And we do some trivia games, just a kind of an hour to let loose. Music apps to listen to your favorite music, where you learn about music apps of today that you can listen to music on your phone. Other classes, I have a Beethoven class that I just did on Monday. That will be probably coming around again. There's a class on Bach on this Monday coming up. So if you're interested in learning some of these composers and the type of music they've played, you can come on into those. If you're an art person, we're doing Name That Masterpiece tomorrow afternoon, where we're going to see if we can identify masterpieces, who painted it, or at least if we can figure out what century it's in.
Right, which I know nothing
That's
about.
probably what it's going to be, like name that century.
Right. But,
you're going to get some class notes in the email. Go ahead and fill out the feedback. If you have any new class ideas you'd like to see, let us know in the feedback. And we also can invite your friends. If you're on your mobile device, you will see a little invite a friend link, or on the website, you'll see them invite a friend, where you can invite people through email and on Facebook. And of course, we have our help at getsetup.io email, where if you want to host, maybe you want to host an interest group, if you have an interest gardening or art and music, something like that, let us know, and we'll get you into an interest group. You can meet more of the people in the community. You can always suggest new class ideas. If you have an organization in your area that you think might be able to use our services, let us know, and our people will contact them about partnering with them. And you can, of course, request your session recordings at help@getsetup.io. All right. So everyone, go read some music.
yeah. Go practice.
Go practice.
Right. Go get your hymnal.
That's funny.
That's what we did.
Oh, I know. It's a lot. It's hard. It's a lot of practice. It really is.
Right. And I've just forgotten.
I mean, when you go and listen to live music, appreciate that person has putting in time.
Exactly. Wow.
It takes time and dedication to get to where they are, and do the tip jar.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you guys next time. Okay.
Do we do a chat, or no? Nobody does a chat?
The chat?
Yeah. Does anybody do that?
You mean, did they leave? Oh, there's a bunch of information here in the chat for you guys. He's got links to different website, different classes.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I'll make a copy of this. I'll put it in the email for you guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be there. Thank you, John,
Yeah.
for putting all that in. He's been busy.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, wow, I just discovered it. Yeah.
I'll put that in there.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, John. All right, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you. Take care.